Calum, for a young man, your music sounds like it's been around a while. When did you start writing?
I started writing when I was about 13 and a half. Started off started off with some very, very basic songs. I only knew like three chords at the time. And through some words of it, my first song was dreadful, like terrible. But kept going with it, and I'm writing almost every day now. I come up with at least 4 or 5 choruses, some nice chord progressions, some lead lines, drum parts, all that sort of thing.
Okay, so you were writing music from quite a young age. Who were your influences? Who were you listening to back then?
I have been and do listen to a lot of different genres. I have a really wide range of musical taste. So I was listening to the likes of Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, across to like nowadays. There's some Shawn Mendes in there. Got some all those kind of guys. Picking up on some like traditional Scottish music as well. Kind of the Scot rock, trad rock bands like Scarivore, Tidelines, all that sort of stuff. I'm also a massive jazz head. Listen to a lot of jazz music, and have done for a long time. Study jazz kind of like on a course for a week a year with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra of Scotland. I go to their summer school, which is great, and I learned from some fantastic jazz musicians. Have met some fantastic musicians as well, and we all kind of like chat. We chat about this sort of topic quite a lot, and how we take all these different genres into our own music and how that helps out with it and stuff. So yeah, I listen to an abundance of music. Sometimes a bit too varied. I got a playlist in my car, and whenever anyone comes into the car, they're just like it goes from like Twin Atlantic to the Monkees. So it's very, very strange mix of music, but there's a lot of it there.
Your new single, Ready or Not, is coming out very soon. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to write that?
Ready or Not came about in a point in time where I was writing constantly. Like I was writing choruses every day, writing like full songs, full tracks every day. And it was one of those ones that kind of just came and was very, very natural to write. So I had the chord progression kind of down. It was quite melodic. It was more of a hook than a chord progression. And the lyrics came on top of that. So it was done to a degree within sort of like 2-3 hours. And like the story behind it is kind of just like it's about that relationship that was fine and kind of went sour. One person's putting a bit more effort in than the other, and that kind of backtrack. Like, I don't really need you to be happy. I can kind of do it by myself. So it was that kind of vibe to it. And yeah, it was a nice, easy song to write, and I feel like it's taken a big step now because I went and worked with Alex Davies, who has worked with people like James Arthur, Sigrid, and Codeline, those sort of guys. So the music's really notched up now, and it's got a bit more punch to it, a bit more rock to it, which is that new direction that we're kind of trying to move in. So it'll be a really wicked release once it comes out. Yeah.
You're listening to a whole bunch of different music. How would you describe your own music?
My music is definitely taken from that kind of mix. We're kind of going down a sort of folky, emotive, indie pop, rock kind of thing. So it has taken that step into the little bit more heavier side of things, which is great. It's got a lot more emotion into it. And I feel like the main thing is that I'm writing from emotion and experience rather than from a sort of formulaic structure to be in, I've got this thing that I'm going to write a song about. It's more how I'm feeling and what's going on at the time that I do tend to write about. And I really hope that people can relate to that and do take away the sort of feeling and the stuff that I put into the song. So that's where the songs come from. They're not really kind of like designed to be, it's not like I go out and go, I'm going to write a dance song today. It's more like how I'm feeling. And I want somebody to listen to that song and relate to it and take away what I've put into it.
So you were born in Ireland and then moved to Scotland at an early age. How much has the Gaelic influence affected your music?
I was born in Belfast and moved over like, early on. So it's not something that I don't remember it too much, but I'm very proud to be from Belfast. Actually, I do bring it up quite a lot. But I also love the Scottish. Like, I love living here and wouldn't, well, not here obviously, but I do love living in Scotland, and it's fantastic. We're up in this little hamlet. It's not even a hamlet. It's like 4 houses on the top of a hill in the middle of nowhere, which is great. The Gaelic and Gaelic side of it does really bring a lot to where I live. Actually, there's a lot of people that do speak Gaelic and do speak Gaelic. As for the music up where we are, it's a very folky, traddy, surrounded area. Everyone plays fiddles and mandolins and banjos and stuff up there, and it's all Scottish traditional folk music or Irish traditional folk music. And wherever you go in the pubs, there's always a trad or a ceilidh band playing. So you go in and you are just surrounded by it, and like it's especially great up where we are because of that being the focus. Everyone gets the chance to go and be in groups and sessions and stuff. You don't need to be in a band to play that sort of music in the pub. Everyone goes, and if you know a tune and you know what key it's in, then everyone just plays together in these massive sessions, sometimes up to like a good 30, 40 people, all just sit down around the table and jam to one track with a bottle of whiskey in front of them and just go for it, which is great. And that community really does bring something special to music, and it has really opened up my personal way of thinking about music to be that sort of community, really close, tight-knit, family-orientated sort of, we play music together, and that's what it is. It's not segregated or anything.
Do you have a way of writing a song? Is there a routine that you get into to write a song?
My routine for writing music isn't necessarily like this is how I do it. It's not I sit down, write chords, write lyrics, etc. It's more of if I do have a chord progression that I like, then I'll put lyrics to it over that. Sometimes it is literally just sit down with an acoustic guitar, strum out some chords, and then lyrics flow on top of it, and that's a song. And sometimes it's I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I've got this drum groove in my head that's in a stupid time signature, and I'm gonna write a wicked riff over the top of that, and then lyrics fall on top of that. Or I've got a set of lyrics, like I've got a pages document on my laptop that has about 5-6 pages, just individual lines that if I can drop them in, then I will do. Like, I'm constantly running about the house if there's like a melody in my head or a vocal lick or a guitar passage that I just whip out my phone and record it on and then come back to it later. But I always forget to label them. So I'm going through my phone going like, what is this? There's like 70 recordings on here that are just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yeah, so it definitely does depend on what comes down first in my head is then what makes the song. But at the same time, I probably could stick to one thing and be like, I'm just going to write songs from now on that I start with chords and go. But there's not really much fun in that. You get the best ideas that just come to you. Yeah.
Now, you've been gigging around UK and Europe. What's been your most memorable gig so far?
The most memorable gig is very hard to give you. There's so many that have been just fantastic. I play a lot of festivals, and I've been to I was down in Brighton at the Great Escape Festival over that weekend, and Belladrum, Eden Festival, Beery Folk Festival, which was actually my first English festival, which was this year, and I headlined the acoustic stage, which was fantastic. Really got into that. The crowd were really up for it. They got dancing, and I'd gone to the festival for the day, and everyone, it was a proper folk festival. Everyone was playing slow sort of ballady tunes, acoustic guitar and a vocal, or they had like a banjo and a mandolin or fiddles, and they were just playing like tunes quite acoustically. And I'd gone in and I'd been booked for this headline slot, and I'm sitting thinking, everyone's really low key and mellow, and then there's me, and I'm really not low key and mellow. So I got up and I went, so I'm really not a folk artist. I'm really not a folky folk artist. So I'm here to ramp things up a bit. And by the end of it, they were all on the hay bales that they'd been sitting on all day, dancing about and running around and everything. And like Belladrum, moving on from that, Belladrum this year was fantastic. I got to play my bucket list gig, which was the grassroots stage. I've been playing at Belladrum for the past 4 years now, and got to play that gig on stage, and the crowd actually packed in quite nicely. It was a really, really great one. And then the day after that, I played 6 gigs that weekend, and the last one was a headline slot on the free range stage, which is this, like, it's a boat turned upside down, which is the actual stage. And there was people like outside the gates trying to get in to the show, which was fantastic. It was great. And I've played like my biggest show on New Year's this past year, which was in the Northern Meeting Park in Inverness alongside Blazing Fiddles and Tidelines. We opened it up and there was 12,000 people in front of us, which was just insane. Absolutely insane. And kind of being, that was definitely the biggest one. So that was a real memorable moment for me. Yeah.
You're a prolific writer. You gig a great deal. You kind of grew up playing clubs and pubs and local concerts. So do you prefer doing live gigs to recording in the studio?
When it comes to live and studio time, I wouldn't say I prefer either. They're two totally separate entities for me. When it comes to like live shows, I really get to put the effort into making the show. The music's great, and if it sounds great, then amazing. But to me, the actual show and the performance is 100% as important as the actual music. I try to jump about and make it as energetic as possible. I mean, I've crowd surfed in a crowd of 6 people, which was a fun. It wasn't really crowd surfing. It was just it was like a line out. They just kind of carried me over the barrier and walked around the room for a bit, which was great. Whereas when I'm in a studio, I love it because I really get to nerd out on guitars and tech and amps and effects. I could, like, the first 2 albums that we did, the percussion was basically a day of running around with a drumstick hitting stuff until we found the right sound for that bit. Like, there's one of the tracks on the first album, which I'll let everyone that's watching go away and listen to it and see if they can find out what it is or which track it is. But there's literally one track where the clave sound, like that sort of ping, is just an empty glass with a packet of polos whacking off it. And then the shaker in it is a glass jar with £2.56 worth of change in the glass. And that got shaken about. So yeah, studio time's really fun, just to be creative and choose which guitar is going to sound right for that one note that's right on the end. Or with like tuning toms, just seeing how you can get it to sound and how different sounds make the track sound a little bit better. Yeah, so I love both of them. I can't say which one I love more.
What would you like to be doing in 5 years' time as a musician?
5 years' time, I would love to be doing everything I'm doing right now, just on a bigger scale. I'd love to be touring across the UK, across Europe if possible, even further afield if we can. Some headline shows. We'd love to get on a great support tour for a big band that we can just go right the way across and just get the music out to as many people and expand what I'm now calling the CJ family. I really want to get that community aspect into my music and just build a massive fan base that interacts like a family. I don't want people to come to shows and not come and talk to me afterwards, not come and have a drink in the bar. I want it to be that sort of thing where I'm approachable, and we do, like, if someone messages me on Facebook and goes, I'll be at your show in Glasgow this night, let's go and get a pint afterwards. I want that to be something that is like totally normal, and just go, yeah, let's go and do that. Let's get a massive group together and go and have the after party, just going to clubs and going out, having a good time, just being a collective that isn't a musician, fans, just have it all as one thing. I want to keep going. I do a lot of charity work. I want to keep going with that and build up on that. 4 years ago, I got approached by this charity called Friends of Children of Chernobyl, just to go in and do some trad dancing and some songs. And now I've been there for the next 4 years, which is wicked. I work with a lot of charities, so probably about maybe 6 or 7, but we've raised over £5,000 in total for between these charities, which has been fantastic. But these kids have really become a massive part of my journey through music and are definitely part of my family. So I want that to be something that really does continue and just becomes a bigger thing.
Okay, Calum, which song do you wish you'd written and why?
I wish I'd written September by Earth, Wind and Fire. And that is a fantastic song. The musicality in that song is incredible. And I don't think I've ever heard a brass section like the one in that song or in that album. The sound on that is like just totally unique, and the arrangement for the entire track is insane. Like there's little bits in that which are definitely like they've written those. They're not, you can't say that they sound like something else. It's definitely a very unique track, very unique sound and mix on it. The vocals are insane. I wish I could sing that high, as everyone does. But yeah, that is definitely the track that I wish I'd written.
If you're only allowed to listen to one album forever, which one would it be?
One album forever. It would probably be the Everlong album by Foo Fighters. I don't know if it's actually called Everlong, but the album that has Everlong in it by Foo Fighters is great. And I think I could probably listen to that on repeat for a decent length of time. But we might pack in music and listening to music before the end of my life if I had to listen to one for the rest of it. Yeah.
Hey, Calum, what would your fantasy festival lineup be?
My fantasy festival lineup would be, first support would probably be, there's too many. First support, I would really love to see Green Day live. I've heard that that's fantastic. Apparently their show's great. Second support, I mean, like, I would have to be on my fantasy festival lineup. I would love to be a support act on that, just to say I've played with these people. Would love to see Earth, Wind and Fire, actually. Would love to see them live. I think that would be great. Another support, probably Elbow. I saw Elbow not too long ago, and they were fantastic. Saw them at Belladrum this year, and they were amazing. It was like putting a record on and watching them play it to you. And then headline would definitely be Foo Fighters. My favourite band on the planet. Dave Grohl is my utter idol. Just following the path, being a drummer, and then coming up to be frontman. Definitely inspiring. And I went and saw them in Belfast. I went back home, got tickets for my Christmas. Went and saw them in Belfast a few weeks ago, and their stage show was insane. The music was insane. There's bits where like literally they broke down halfway through Best of You and went into a 10-minute guitar solo. The drum solo, the rider came up on this big mechanical thing. It was in the air. He was up there for a good 5 minutes just playing away. So definitely headliner.
Well, Calum, thank you so much for coming into the station today and sharing your history and your ambitions with us. Really good to see you.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great being here. Let's go to the bar.